Yeah, that's a better idea. I'll just see.
joined us in 12th century Britain. The men have returned home from fighting in the Crusades, only to find that the women have taken over the land. In an attempt to regain control, the Lord commissions the biggest castle ever built. This angers a radical feminist named Skinner, who wreaks her revenge by murdering the master mason. This is where our story starts.
She killed him!
Torture her!
Satan's whore!
Guilty!
Burn her! Guilty!
Burn
Witch!
her!
Die!
She killed him!
Torture her!
You fool!
Torture her!
Kill the pig!
Burn her! Guilty!
There's a room down there. They did terrible things to me.
Tie her to the body of her victim.
Bastard running ahead. And yet these wolves make enemies. And running from me, sometimes make me slap. Not dead. Being feverish, of course. And much morning sickness all times a day. Lay in the blue boughs. Odd sight this. On my back, head turned to gasp great lungfuls of the sun. And then could not get up. You'd know, my gravity was somewhere else. Legs like windmills, beaten on his back, or pregnant female. You get used to it. Nothing you can't get used to. First horror, fashion of the rotted male, exclusive garment. Everybody's wearing it. Not to copy, and his organ butts against mine. Would you believe you can live without others? Second horror. Why are you pregnant all the time? Most women spent their fertility decades ago. But you, been at the herbs again? He is getting lighter. If I lie still, the crows take pieces away. Kind crows. My favourite bird. So solitary or live in pairs. He hates you. You do your hair like that, and yet He hates you. Does anybody remember what this place once was? They do. They really do. The children say the castle has been here for 1,000 years.
You should go.
Go.
Yes, go.
Go where?
No such thing as live here anymore. You should go where you might find peace and scrub this thing off you. Go where you might be stoned.
No.
Do you like being stoned?
Yes. Yes to blows. Yes to punishment. All my pain, all my scars, all my wounds. Say you, suffering to be paid out.
so much for joining us as BA2 Theater Design and Production class of Staging the Action, our final presentation. This has been a process of over 3 weeks of hard work and labor, and we are just more than thrilled to be able to share it with you guys. And for now, we would just like to share a bit about who we are and our roles within the process. So I'm Rachel Bechtel. I acted as the stage manager and the lighting designer on this presentation. And stage management is my comfort zone, so being able to do lighting design was something entirely new to me. And so I had a lot of fun dabbling and mixing colors and lighting. So it was really fun to be able to see my final design come to life and literally light up the stage. But that doesn't come without a few struggles and a few challenges. So my first design wasn't without climbing new heights and getting over the fear of being up in a rig, or figuring out what the heck I was doing with the new equipment that this theater had to offer. But overall, it was truly a good learning experience and growth experience that I'll be able to take back home with me. And just the collaboration and the hard work that this group has put into it has really made my job as both the lighting designer and stage manager so much easier, and kudos to all of us.
Hi, I'm Chris Rio, and I did the sound design, composition and operation. I really enjoyed being able to mix synthesized sounds with orchestral sounds. When I found out we were doing a medieval piece, I thought I'd be quite restricted in the music I had to create, but it was really great fun having the freedom to play around, and especially get lots of very futuristic instruments in there. A big challenge for me was the audio routing, so getting the sound to come out of 3 individual speakers. It took a lot of effort within the computer and outside, but we got there eventually. And I guess one thing I'll take away from this production is that you can never have enough sound. I thought we had the correct amount of sound when we finished yesterday afternoon, only to find out that I need to spend 4 hours last night creating another piece. So that was greatly enjoyable.
Hiya, I'm Anna Colpenzi, and I did the set design. I made the set. I was scenic artist, and I did a bit of projection as well. Firstly, something that was really great on this project was actually working with the international students, and getting to know our year group as a production team was really, really nice. Secondly, it was really great to kind of see my designs go from sketches to a model, and then develop into a usable, workable, versatile set in a theatre space. So that was really lovely. One kind of hurdle we had to overcome was trying to figure out how to make it look like we'd crucified an actor without actually injuring them. So hopefully, we did pretty well on that. One thing I learned actually was the kind of scenic art side of things a bit more, making your own personal judgment with what colours might suck in the light and which ones might bounce them back. So brown, for example, I kind of did a lot of research into that, medieval browns, and I noticed that it sucked in a lot of the light, and I wanted to give Rachel as much lighting opportunity as possible, so I then went in and dry brushed it in with grey, so that it kind of, gave Rachel as much play in it as possible. So that's something I'll keep on developing.
Hi, I'm Amy Tran, and I was a set builder for this. I also had to do a 3D rendering of this, on the computer, and also did all the build drawings to make the set happen. During this, I've learned how to use recycled materials because we were on a budget, to make the set happen. And with that, I learned to use different resources and using things I wouldn't have thought to use originally, like using it for. And one of the challenges I had during this was with the constant set design change choices. I had to reevaluate with what resources I had to make the new decisions happen and making the set more versatile than what it originally was planned.
Hello, I'm Rosa Hickman, and my main focus for this was the hair and makeup, and I also assisted with creating the body. One thing that I really enjoyed throughout this module was my makeup designs actually coming to life and being used in a staged environment, the actual setting. My main complication was figuring out how to do the quick changes for the makeup. So I resolved this by creating latex pieces that I could apply to the face using spirit gum, and then also reuse the next time we do the bullshit. across all different body parts. This is something that I haven't done before, and it's new skills that I've learned, which I'll be able to take on with me.
Hello, I'm Erin Jones and I'm the body designer maker. I enjoyed experimenting with new materials and deepening my knowledge of skills that I already had. I found it challenging to create a lightweight design that the body can be used for a quick change and safely attach to the actor without becoming restrictive for the performance. I learned how to live cast and use this process to create a realistic and dynamic idea that depicted a completely real thing, but also using objects that you may not think were kind of the right thing for it, to create just skin textures just to get the right thing.
Microphone problem, sorry. Hi guys, my name's Sarah Petty. I was a scenic artist on this, as well as body maker, sometimes set builder, and impromptu projection operator, kind of. So the number one thing that I enjoyed most about this was working with this amazing group of people and getting to know all of you guys better. And I'm kind of amazed at what we accomplished in such a short amount of time, even though it proved some pretty late nights. It was also a lot of fun to experiment with scenic art. I've never painted an image that will then be projected, so that was kind of a different type of thing for me, as well as just making a decaying body. Not something I pictured myself doing while I was over here. One of the big problems or like conflicts that arise from this were researching the decaying body, because I'll tell you, if you Google the decaying body, you won't get pleasant images. Balancing all the separate departments that I kind of found myself being in, and trying to figure out where I need to be when, as well as just projection in general. I have never done projection in my life, don't really have a desire to in the future either, but I did learn how to do it, kind of. I also learned how to like experiment with colors a bit more. I've never painted a castle in bruise colors, and that was kind of an experience, and I think it turned out okay though. How to create a dead body was something I also learned, and life casting and such, which was really interesting. And how to clad a metal set with random pieces of wood. It's the hardest jigsaw puzzle you will ever do.
Hello, I'm Becca Moore, body supervisor and maker. First of all, I'll start by telling you how exactly how old these bodies are. Bill here is 36 hours after death. Body 1 is a month old, and body 2 is 3 months old. We casted Bill to get the right proportions and dimensional shape, and we did this through several processes of mold bunking. The challenge for me was overcoming those stages of a decaying body. As Sarah said, there's a lot of strong visual imagery that you need a strong stomach for, and NCIS really didn't prepare me for that. I thoroughly enjoyed every part of the process, and seeing it come together and achieving 2 pretty realistic human bodies has been amazing. And one of the biggest challenges was making it work for the performance, so having Lou strapped to them. And yeah, as a supervisor, I learnt to lead a team, which I still need to become more competent in, but there's a lot of like skills, experience and knowledge that I can take forward from this.
Hi, I'm Becky Allard and I was the costume designer and maker for this. I like seeing the things I designed come to life and seeing the ideas that I had that actually work. I learned how fast a designer has to come up with ideas at the beginning of the whole process that we had to take. The main issue I had was creating a costume for Louisa, as she played Skinner, and we had to show how quickly the costume decayed without changing the whole dress, as there wasn't enough time in the time for the presentation that we had. I also kept the cost in mind, so when we made her dress, instead of making 3, we added 2 layers of petticoat, sleeves and petticoat underneath, which could be removed between each scene. The colour scheme we followed was the Bruise colours, and the lighting and projection also used it as well. One of the reasons I designed Skinner's costume blue is during the research process I found that the Virgin Mary was often depicted in blues, as blues are the most expensive colours created in time. And at the end of the text, Skinner's character becomes a religious icon, much like the Virgin Mary.
Hello, I'm Connor Manning, and I was the costume maker. Firstly, I want to say I really enjoyed working with Becky and Lucy on this. And some of the hardest parts was making 3 identical costumes for the body. Not mainly keeping them identical, just I spent 3 days doing nothing but hemming. But I really enjoyed it, and what I also learned was the new distressing technique, how to distress fabric. I have still trying to learn how to know when to stop as it is destroyed, but I've absolutely enjoyed keeping continuity into all the costumes. So if one has a hole or a tear in it, the other 3 will have to if they come afterwards. Apart from that, I've really enjoyed this project.
I'm Lucy Mitchell. I was costume supervisor as well as making, and the biggest conflict of this project was at the start I didn't know what costume supervisor did, and as someone who considers themselves a designer, taking on a management role was terrifying. I knew I had a lot to learn, but I was very lucky that I had a really supportive and dedicated costume team who gave me the chance to learn those things I needed to do. And in terms of making, there were a lot of techniques I'd never done before or I hadn't done in years, so I had to relearn. And what was lovely is that the 3 of us got to learn and figure them out together, and it meant that we could bounce off each other and we could work as a team. My favourite part of the process, however, is right now, because less than 2 weeks ago all we had was a pile of cream fabric, and now we have costumes, and I'm really proud of my team for that.
Once again, we would like to thank you all for coming, and at this time we would like to invite any questions that you have for us, and as well as an invitation to you guys to come and explore the environment that we've created. Any questions?
Is the fabric the sea? Is the fabric from the sea? Is the costume?
No, we had to buy completely new fabric, ones that were relevant to the time, and yeah, cost a lot of our budget.
The third body is actually partially made from a real medical skeleton, which the school was actually taken off the medical skeleton and adapted. So there's been lots of liquid latex been put on top and textures put on it. Would you believe it or not, an orange peel has been latex and actually stuck on it to create skin texture. Along with the teeth, they're the real medical teeth that we then use to an animal to stain and distress. And that was it. The jaw still moves and everything as well, so the skin can actually interact with it and talk to it like she would in the full performance as well.
So on this one, the head was cut within my forehead, so there was a massive
I didn't think you were the real one.
No.
Because the bodies are prepared through materials that are suitable to create them, and then it's up to the actor to put on an impression for the audience of the bodies weigh, how much they would at that certain stage in the decay.
So that was down to the performance.
Yeah, sorry.
Good answer, Louise.
Any more questions?
How long does it take to get to that
Half an hour. Half an hour.
but like this was your first big project together. So how did that kind of feel, and what did you learn from like each other? Because you all both different aspects, all different people. So how did that kind of all come together?
I guess I'm answering this one. I think it was a little bit of a struggle at first because we did just come from a module where it was individual theater practice and we basically didn't see each other for an entire month because we were off doing our own thing. But each of us kind of had a niche where we had experience before or we've been assigned one. And so it was kind of a thing where, well, we have to have this done by this day, so we better all work together. And we had some fights at points and like a little tension. But we all kind of came together in the end, realizing this is a giant project that we cannot do alone, and we needed to work together. So it was very interesting.
For the costumes, was it all completely made new, or was everything hired, or?
Skinner's costume, Bill's, and all of the bodies are made new. Amber's is hired from Bristol Hire. We took a day trip down there and experimented what looked best, and there was some adjustments made to her, and her cloak is actually from a previous performance in Trinity. And Connor, do you want to explain?
This is my own stuff.
Explain why.
Stop now.
He's part of a reenactment group, so he had the stuff and it was perfect, the right century. So we used it because it helped on our budget. So.
How did you decide who was it?
I got told. Video.
I hate to tell you this, but you're acting.
And then I think Amber volunteered.
I just said, you know, I'll do whatever. Yeah, I'll go on stage. Crack on.
Because Anne's character was sort of added a bit later. I mean, she obviously is in the play, but she had a bit more dominant role because it offered, in the project, it offered a chance to go and hire costumes. So as well as doing the making, they had the experience of having to go out and adapt something, find something to fit. We also added the fact that she got the pregnant belly. Stand up to show your pregnant belly.
Okay. This is me acting.
It was a small part at first, and then it became a bit more predominant, but it worked better because of that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's worth spending the time and money to do that, rather than just saying, "Oh, well, we don't need to," because we could probably have botched together something that we have to make that costume work anyway. But it was the experience we decided to, well, with the group, because it was to do with the budgets as well. The group sort of decided. They had the money in the budget to make the trip to Bristol. And of course, then it was like,
Jenny?
When did the set move? It moved really easy. Is it all wheels?
Yes,
air
it
control.
is. So, yeah, it was part of my brief to design, I think, 3 different levels. Obviously, we've got a few more than that now. Kind of happened where I wanted the set to be as dynamic and as versatile as possible. So that's why 2 of the set pieces, I think, are on wheels, so that it means then it changes the shape of the space and it makes a different dynamic. So, yeah, it has wheels.
If you had a bigger budget, what would you change with the set?
Make a bigger wheel.
I'm joking. Knock out the ceiling so we can have a higher set. Because we originally had to bring it down after we found out it's a much smaller space than it originally was.
What made you decide on the wheel about a sort of kind of crucified scene?
So I was inspired by kind of medieval construction sites, and instead of having a modern day crane, they used kind of effectively like a hamster wheel. So this is a whole take on the hamster wheel kind of situation where the wheel, if it was going to be used, would be someone running it, and it kind of like cranks the rope up, and then you have a crane. So So I've kind of distorted it a little bit to make it work for the set, but that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
On Bill's head, he has what it seems to be blood. Is that just fake blood, or what was the process around the
There's a hole in my head. Not much in there.
So we got a wig and then we cut the hair to the correct length for the period and then I made a mould of a wound and then I casted it with latex, which then created the wound that I cut into the wig and glued it to it. And then I just kind of put makeup on it with pink blood.
Did you find many difficulties in actually getting, like, having the skeleton on you? Like, how to adapt that? So it actually...
The skeleton was actually quite nice to work with. It was quite light and it was easy to move around with. The first body was a bit of a struggle.
Big temperamental.
But yeah, I think the skeleton would be very nice for an eye control to work with.
What are you going to do with the set now?
As much as it pains me to say it, I think we're going to have to break it down. I mean, we can save bits and then, you know, then we can go on recycling for other people, but I think we're going to have to break it down, you know. That's nice.
How easy was it to get everything in here? Was it a process of
So for the get-in, I actually really pushed for time between Shakespeare being in this room and Carnival in the next morning. So it was a two-part kind of get-in. Some of the parts we decided to break down. For example, this is actually an 8x4 steel deck with scaffolding. So that was quite an effort to carry, but you know, we did it. And then trying to piece back the scaffolding was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. But we did. So next time I'm going to label everything better. I've learned that.
And the wheel?
And the wheel.
The wheel, is it in one piece or in multiple pieces?
So, annoyingly, it's actually just slightly too big to fit in a double door, obviously. So it's designed to be taken apart. You kind of take effectively like a pizza slice out of it. It's bolted together, and then you can take the pizza slice out, and it fits through doors. Just. It's snug.
Like a seat.
Yeah.
Overall, what's your favourite part of the whole thing? Like, you could relive one moment of it, and why?
Me personally, or all of us?
Individually, as a group?
Oh, goodness. Oh, we have to have
To be fair, I am looking forward to going to bed early tonight.
Actually, to be fair, I think it's all worth it just to see Bill in costume. That's definitely a strong one.
And also eating and drinking and walking around campus in this costume.
Yeah, crummy beards, you know.
Oh yeah, I got food in my
No, that's fine.
I just couldn't see it. Those croissants get everywhere.
Do you know the body, the second, the monk body, is it filled with anything or is it like hollow?
To make it usable on stage and stuff, we had to make it as light as possible. So we actually filled it with, we wadded it with, a Halloween skeleton is in that, in both bodies. We filled it, or wrapped it up in bubble wrap and other kind of bits, like wadding and stuff. And also pumped it with expanding foam, which don't work very well.
Yeah, don't put it on your arms.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you put on all the limbs, which are made in latex. So it's quite light. If afterwards anyone wants to pick it up, I guess try it on. But yeah.
One last thing. On the month body, I see there's like little clips on his legs. Is that to hold on to the visa?
Yeah.
Yeah, so where do they attach them to you then?
Onto her hip.
I have a harness on his knees, so there are certain places where it comes through the costume to clip onto it, so that places are secured into place.
We took the inspiration of the harness from like a baby papoose, and so we had looked at them and how they work, and then we made one from scratch from some webbing and clips.
So not reinventing the wheel. The wheel is done to make it bigger. So that's what we did.
Any other questions? All right, well, we will stick around, and you guys are more than welcome to come try the bodies out and play on the set. So thank you guys again for coming.
Before we leave here, I just want to take a little bit of a moment. I know he's going to be really upset with me for doing this. But for those of you who don't know, Bill Talbot has had an incredibly difficult year. I think it's safe to say. And I know you're going to be upset with me for saying this, but I just, moments like this, where with you guys there and Bill here, and it just reminds me of how lucky all of us are to have one of the most stubborn men that I've ever met. But incredibly dedicated people who are going to come in and who are going to continue to work and to work and to work. And I think it's really important at times like this to say thank you to Bill, who has tirelessly, frustratingly sometimes, come. And I think it's just great at the very end of what I know has been an incredibly difficult year to see this and to see all of you here and to be doing that. And I really just, on behalf of the entire school and myself, to say thanks to Bill. I mean, you know how I found it? It stuck me in the leg.